Hey guys, welcome to the Progressive Gun Owning Psychologist. We typically talk about issues related to politics, guns, and psychology. Today we're going to do a quick reaction video. My wife is going to be joining me. We're both psychologists. And I want to apologize in advance because with this reaction thing, staring at the screen, I've not been looking at the camera, which I obviously need to get better at. I also have been using my phone as my camera and not realizing that it's actually showing like push notifications that come up on my phone, and so you'll see like these blocks that go over the screen at certain points. Just roll with it. Otherwise, here we go. Thanks. All right, hey everyone, welcome to the Progressive GOP. I am Erik, and this is my wife Dana, and we're both here to do a little reaction video for you. So I don't know if you are familiar with the I guess he's a comedian, JP Sears. If you're familiar with him, you might know what he's about. I didn't really. I've seen a couple of his videos. I thought they were pretty funny. He seemed to mock both sides of the political spectrum, and I thought his critiques were fairly were fair, let's say that. But with this latest video that I saw, I think more of his political identity came out, and I've seen this before, and Dana hasn't. So we're going to be talking about it, me from what I've seen, and Dana watching it the first time. So with no further ado, let's get into it.
I'm announcing that the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated. Get vaccinated.
Okay, because you said so, should we also let the king assault our wives on our wedding night because he said so?
I didn't know we had the same hair.
Bravery, not obedience.
Oh, God. Why have I agreed to watch this? This is 9 minutes of my life I will never get back. Go on.
All right.
Not a fair parallel, JP. Is that his name?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. We won't say much more about that right now.
Get the f*** out of here. Now to the question. Should you obey Emperor Biden's new mandate? Let's find out. But first, as the people that run Biden had him announce their new mandate, what meant a lot to most Americans was how well he read off the teleprompter the whole time. He honestly did much better than usual, and I think that deserves to be acknowledged. And the rest of his speech was really eaten up by the few sheep that are left grazing upon this great leader's words. But the thing that's not faring well with all the lions in America is the whole part of Biden pretending he's got the tyrannical authority to tell people what to do with their bodies. These lions...
Okay. Yes.
So how does he feel about what's going on in Texas? Is he opposed to that? Should women be allowed to do what they want with their bodies?
Obviously not.
Obviously not.
I mean, it's the lions, not the women.
Right. Correct. Good God.
So what does lions mean in this context?
We're not talking about Simba, are we? That's not who he means.
I don't think so. I'm also not sure what he means by sheep, but let's keep watching.
Inconveniently have things called God-given liberties, freedom, sovereignty, and what's that thing called? The Constitution, which ironically protects them really well from this president. But JP, he said we have to do this. Cool, keep eating. Your wool will be ready in the fall. But for now, I'm talking to the lions, not you. But even for the lions...
Question. Are the lions people who get to die because they're too stupid to get vaccinated? Is that who he means? Because that's not usually how one uses the term lions. That appears to be who he means.
Right. It's my impression that lions means people who can do whatever they want to whoever they want because that's their God-given right.
Are they living on deserted islands?
probably not.
Then no, that's not how this goes then. Society equals we take care of each other, JP.
Right, well, that's not what lions do to sheep.
That's true.
Lions don't take care of sheep, they eat sheep, and apparently we're speaking to the psychopaths of the nation.
Great.
Okay.
Fabulous. I hope there's so many of them that are listening to this.
Right, so now that we've got that straight.
Wouldn't it be a good idea for us to violate our free will and mindlessly follow this demented puppet's guidance on our health and freedom? I mean, look at what a beautiful disaster Biden created in Afghanistan. Wouldn't you like his leadership and track record to do the same for your health and freedom?
I mean, fair. The Afghanistan thing was kind of a disaster.
But those aren't comparable.
No.
Biden is reporting the science. That is what he's doing. There are still a lot of conversations about Afghanistan going on about whether or not the way that he did that was the right thing to do, or the process by which he did it was the right way to do it. But this is based on data, like data.
Right, and this is what people like him are a master of is
False
fair
equivalencies.
critiques, but false equivalencies. Exactly. Okay.
You could be your own Afghanistan if you listen to him, but at least Biden's willing to praise the Taliban on the week of 9/11, even though they're a murderous regime currently holding Americans hostage. Not only does that make him seem trustworthy, but it kind of makes you optimistic that he'd be willing to celebrate your enslavement to his authority if you give him your freedoms. On that note, I will say, Biden's tyranny is synonymous with honesty. I remember back in July when his press secretary said they would not be instituting these mandates. But when they said that back then, that's honestly what they wanted us to believe. Deception for our own protection, right?
I see the problem here. So, you can have your freedom, but your freedom has consequences. That is what these are. If you would like to work for the federal government, then you need to be vaccinated. It is totally fine if you don't want to be vaccinated, but then you don't get to work for the federal government. That's how that goes.
But that would mean that you have to take responsibility if you want freedom.
Correct. Yes.
That's not acceptable.
I understand that.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Just educating JP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
JP, you're nuts. He's violating our freedoms for our own good. It's funny how abusers say the same thing to their victims in order to minimize how much resistance they encounter in violating their victims. Right, Joe?
This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you.
Sheep probably just heard a message of protection. Lions heard a message of abuse. So if you...
I'm sorry. Aren't the lions that he's talking about, aren't they the ones that love guns for protection? Aren't they the ones that want that? Is that him? Does he love guns? Does he feel protected by that?
I'm betting yes.
Yeah, Just saying, we have different definitions of protection. Some white men view that as guns. Other people view that as vaccines from a communicable disease that is a global pandemic. Got it. Okay.
probably just heard a message of protection. Lions heard a message of abuse. So if you do the math, there's two possibilities why Biden would be trying to violate your freedom. One is he's an abuser because he's acting out the exact behavior of an abuser. But this scenario is definitely not likely. And the other possibility is like why ever else good people would want to violate other people's freedoms. It's like, there's probably a lot of good reasons why people would want to violate other people in a way that's beneficial. Someone's just got to think of them. I remember when Benjamin Franklin said, "Those who give up their freedom for safety deserve neither." And Biden said, "This is not about freedom. This is for your safety." Those are two very different perspectives. But Benjamin Franklin was a strong advocate for the Constitution, and Biden disregards it altogether. So, well, he's mandating that people get this shot whether they want it or not. So what can we do? Well, that's a great question. If you're a sheep, go ahead and keep grazing on obedience in the corral of your comfort zone. But if you're a lion, you might want to consider the words of Martin Luther King Jr. One has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. And that's what the Lions are doing.
So unjust laws. I mean, it seems like that's where the problem is, because, I mean, I agree with Martin Luther King, right?
Yes, but I don't think Martin Luther King agrees with JP here, just to be clear.
Don't we have a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws?
Tell me when we find one, and then we'll disobey it. I'd like to disobey the unjust laws in Texas. Sure, yes. This is also not a law, just to be clear. This is a consequence. This is if you want to work for the federal government, then you need to get vaccinated.
Well, actually,
that's not a law.
I think Biden's also expanding this now to any company.
Oh, true.
That has more than 100 employees, right?
Yeah, so that they don't kill each other. And then the businesses that you people love so much, JP, don't fall apart because all of their employees died. Dummy.
So I think we don't want to take responsibility. We just want the freedom to do whatever we feel is in our own best interest, so that we can be free to take advantage of, massacre, whatever,
Sounds like the American way, though, actually.
Oh, yeah,
that's how we've always operated.
That's a good point. Okay.
So far, the governors of these states have said they will not obey Biden's tyrannical, unconstitutional mandates. What if you're a business owner with more than 100 employees? What can you do?
All right. Today, Joe Biden announced he was going to use the full force of the federal government to mandate that all companies with 100-plus employees force their workers to be vaccinated or subject them to weekly tests for COVID-19. I just got off the phone with our lawyers, and I just want to reiterate something that I already said today on Twitter. No, the Daily Wire does have more than 100 employees, but we won't be enforcing Joe Biden's unconstitutional and tyrannical vaccine mandate.
Oh, that's what you can do. Do what's right by disobeying. But I'd be one of the only ones disobeying based on what the guy trying to implement the mandates is telling me. Most people want them. It's probably not what you think. Take a look at the video of Biden announcing his exciting new mandates and notice the impressive like versus dislike ratio. Similar to Martin Luther King, Gandhi once said, "Civil disobedience becomes a sacred duty when the state becomes lawless or corrupt." I wonder why Martin Luther King and Gandhi would say disobedience is our duty. Maybe they're suggesting that you can't obey your way out of tyranny and that you have to disobey your way out of tyranny. Maybe that's how you stop the tyrannical few from controlling the many. I guess if you're not under a trance of fear, that kind of makes sense.
So it kind of sounds to me like he's describing the oldest form of control known to man, which in my mind is religion, or organized religion.
Yes.
At least, right? So we've got the sheeps and the lions, but he thinks that people like him are the lions, yet it's people like him who base their entire value system on this sort of organized religion perspective of, they're totally willing to obey those rules, right? And totally willing to be controlled as long as it's by what somebody told them was God's word, right? And I'm not even arguing against the existence of God or whatever, but the organized part of this is all about control. But apparently that's all okay. It's the government who's trying to save lives that is unacceptable.
Here's the other question for JP. So let's say that these companies disobey these mandates. Okay. So are we supposed to provide them with federal money when their businesses go under because they don't have enough employees that can get the job done? What are we supposed to do? Are his people not the people that talk about people needing to go back to work? Because when the employees die and the businesses fail, I'm not quite sure that the federal government should be boosting them up if they refuse to do something that would prevent those negative consequences. What are the implications of this? What happens next?
I think there may once have been a time when the answer to that from someone of his political persuasion would clearly have been, no, the government doesn't have that responsibility. But it's not clear to me these days that that people with that perspective feel that way. The hypocrisy of it is that they want to do whatever they want, take no responsibility for good behavior, and then they don't want to suffer those consequences.
If you look at the map that he showed of all of the states that are going to refuse this, they were all of the states that take the most federal money for their natural disasters. There was Texas, there were all of those like deep south states. I mean, these are the people who are going to want the federal dollars. That is what is currently going on. And I say, I don't think you get that if you refuse to abide by society standards to keep everyone safe. If people get sick who had the vaccine through their workplace, I think we should give them all of the support that we can. They tried their best. They did what they could. But I want to know, does he relinquish the right of these states and these businesses to get any support if they want their freedom? Because freedom comes with two different things. It comes with the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want, but it also comes with the freedom to experience all of those consequences. And so I would like to know, what do you propose about that, JP? Is that upcoming? Does he get to that? I'm going to guess not.
I'm sure he does.
Oh, yes, because they always make logical arguments. I'm ready.
After all, both Martin Luther King and Gandhi used disobedience to crumble the control that unjust segregating forces had over society in their days that created two classes of citizens. Oh, and
to use that as the equivalent, that segregation of people by race or ethnicity is the same as segregation by stupidity and science believing, they are not equivalent. Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear about that.
Probably just coincidentally, Biden's hand of tyranny is trying to impose unjust segregation over society to create two classes of citizens. Watch.
We're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
And watch this, too.
This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Pandemic of the unvaccinated.
I think that's what you do when you have nothing else to say, is just mock somebody's way of speaking. Is that?
Yeah, that
okay.
seems right. But I mean, like, this argument is insane. So he needs to really, like, dredge the bottom of the barrel here. Like, this is an insane argument.
It
like,
is if you talk
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I can't even.
to a scientist. But if you talk to a scientist who practices science, you'll find it's not true. And it's beautiful how Biden's trying to...
Yeah,
is he going to have a scientist on here that I actually value their expertise that disagrees? Because does he have a guest?
No, I think he just wanted to make sure that you knew that there's a difference between scientists like Dr. Fauci and scientists who practice science, like the ones that he thinks are smarter or more informed than Dr. Fauci, who's one of the world's preeminent people in his field.
Oh, is he going to show me one of those? Am I going to get to like see one and see the difference? Like,
let's find out.
Okay.
This is science, you'll find it's not true. And it's beautiful how Biden's trying to create unity by creating division, by trying to get you to look at the as second-class citizens. Have we seen this before? Oh yeah. The Nazis called Jews nice environments to help encourage weak-minded people to be willing to do inhumane things to Jews. Now, I really can't stress enough that the people that run Biden are perfectly executing the first 6 steps of genocide. Will they get to all 10? They will if you let them, and they won't if you don't let them. The cool thing is, which is kind of scary, it's up to you. What else did the most popular president in history with one of the worst approval ratings in history have to say?
What? Aren't those the same number? What? What? Oh God, it was clear that he was going to bring in the Nazis. I can't. All of his comparisons are so insulting and so ridiculous. I just can't even. Like, take a history class, dude. Take a history class.
But the thing is, I actually think he's a smart guy. Like, I've seen other videos of him. This isn't an issue of dumb or uninformed. This is really an issue of, and this is where I think our side is guilty of this too. But then they're not moral equivalents, right? But this is an issue of starting with your worldview and then twisting the facts to I think they have to go through a lot more contortions than we do. But,
they do indeed.
But we're all guilty of it.
Patient. But our patience is wearing thin.
Aw, Joe, your patience is wearing thin, and you're trying to use fear to intimidate us while you're wearing soiled depends, you tyrant? Well, the good news is what's not wearing thin is the Second Amendment. So your patience means all to lions.
I'm sorry. Is he now threatening to kill Joe Biden? Is that what's happening? Or kill the unvaccinated? Kill the vaccinated? What is that? What is that?
I
What?
mean, it's a call to an insurrection or standing up to your freedoms. If you
Why do we have to do that with guns? Why I have marched in protest without guns. Why do we need guns? What kind of a moron are you? What an unevolved. What is wrong with you? You don't have words, so you need guns? What? Oh my God, I can't even. Fine, proceed.
Okay.
So, with all the exciting revelations that come with Biden's new mandate announcement, should you comply? That depends on if you're a lion or a sheep. If you're a sheep, enjoy the day on your green pastures of peaceful slavery. But for the lions, it's time to stand up. Disobey the tyrants and uphold your freedoms. Because lions know freedom is what makes life worth living.
Freedom to do what?
A freedom to apparently bring your guns to the vaccine place and be like, I have my gun and I'm not getting a vaccine. I don't know. Freedom to not have consequences must be nice. Imagine the parents.
I mean, it's certainly not freedom to live in a world where you don't have to be scared constantly about pathogens or other people threatening you.
I mean, he's apparently afraid of everything. He's
a lion. What are you talking about?
Oh, right. I forgot. Silly me. Silly me.
No, he just wants to make sure he has the freedom to take advantage of people whenever he feels like it.
Right, of course. That seems like a great civilized way to be.
Because his freedom to be a bullying lion that matters, not your freedom
to not
to be
die from his communicable diseases. Lovely.
I promise you this, there's more of us than you think. It's time, lions.
Does he mean the 400 to 500 people that showed up at the White House yesterday for their day of insurrection anger? What? I only saw maybe 450. Okay.
One more thing, my friend. I will not comply with anything that violates human freedom. I promise you that, and I am proud of that. That's why I had my team just make up a new shirt, I will not comply. And if you'd like to boldly represent and spread the message of Martin Luther King and Gandhi, you can be one of the first to get your I will not comply shirts.
So I just want to point out, props to him for the I will not comply shirt. As someone who is this is the progressive GOP, right? The progressive gun owning psychologist, and I do pay attention to gun people and stuff. And so there is somebody named Colion Noir who's a well-known gun activist who already has an I will not comply shirt.
Oh, delightful.
It's just about guns, not about vaccines. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But you didn't rip that off or anything. Yeah.
So he thinks that wearing those shirts makes him look big and bad and free. Is that right? Where's his picture of his gun?
I wish I could explain to you what he thinks, but I can't.
Okay.
My shop now at awakenwithjp.com.
I don't think I'll be
I'm
purchasing.
proud to be on Team Freedom with you.
Team Freedom. because those of us who think responsibility is a key part of freedom, we're not for freedom.
Also, why would you be so cruel to other people? How can you say I'm gonna kill you if I get COVID? I'm gonna go out without my mask, not vaccinated.
And that's my God-given right.
Why would you do that? How could you be so cold and heartless? Is he an incel?
No, I don't think so.
Huh. He seems like he should be.
Okay, so what do we think about this? What's the takeaway?
That people like him had the worst parenting ever because he doesn't understand that there are consequences that go with freedom and responsibility and decisions. That.
Right. So the other part of this channel is, it's the gun owning psychologist. And one of the things we learned about in psychology is about existential psychology and this whole concept of freedom and how you can't have freedom without responsibility. And I think...
or to quote Peter Parker's uncle, with great power comes great responsibility. Freedom is a power.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only way you can have freedom without responsibility is if you don't want to live in a society, right?
And I am happy to send them all to, I'm sure there are plenty of islands where we can rescue the people, or they're already deserted, they can go there and they can have the freedom that they want. And they will die within 10 minutes probably.
Yeah.
Because I don't expect that. Some of them seem like they're very good at survival though, so maybe they'll have a grand time surviving on a deserted island. But that's where they can be. You have a choice. You can either live in society or you can go live on a deserted island. The end. Mm-hmm. You don't get to harm people.
Okay, there you have it.